You know very well what you've done. How could you?
Uh-oh.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most awkward moments on the Wonder Years.
Arnold?
Here we go. Lucky, lucky, lucky.
And Farquhar.
And suddenly, my life was over.
The weird thing was, it was really no big deal. Except for some reason at that moment, it was a big deal. Somehow I guess I'd envisioned Karen's roommate a little less male.
For this list, we're looking at moments from this dramedy that captured the uncomfortable side of growing up. Whether these scenes were played for comedy or drama, they had us all cringing. What do you think is the most awkward Wonder Years moment? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Sex education. Kevin and Paul are initially excited when sex education is added to the curriculum. Their anticipation quickly turns to disappointment, as Coach Cutlip doesn't paint the most flattering portrait of the female form.
Unfortunately, it looked more like a cow's head to me.
The boys thus decide to take sex ed into their own hands. No, not like that. At Wayne's recommendation, they drop the textbooks and pick up a copy of Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex but Were Afraid to Ask.
Holy mackerel.
While acquiring the book is awkward enough, tensions escalate when Kevin's mother catches them with it.
What is going on in here? Oh my God.
Matters take an unexpected turn when Norma mistakes the copy for her own, giving Kevin a jaw-dropping glimpse into her sex life. Kevin finds that young boys aren't the only ones with questions about sex.
I guess my mother figured out her mistake pretty quickly because I never heard from either of my parents on that topic again. We seemed to have a tacit understanding that they wouldn't mention my book if I wouldn't mention theirs.
Number 9. Chuck twitches out.
It was horrible. Right before our eyes, the kid was twitching his way toward total self-destruction.
This Season 5 bottle episode had plenty of awkward moments on the menu. From Paul's mishap with a sloppy Joe to Wayne's confrontation with the school's resident maniac, whose name turns out to be Florence.
Florence. Well, thanks a lot. I'll never forget this, Florence.
By far the most uncomfortable subplot finds Chuck trying to ask out a classmate named Sheila. He chickens out after tucking his shirt as deep as it can go into his pants. Chuck does finally work up the courage, but he should have left his tray back at the table. After getting the words out, Chuck is delighted when Sheila reciprocates.
Gee, Chuck. That'd be nice.
And hit pay dirt.
Great.
The nervous Chuck can't contain his jitters, though, loudly shaking his tray as he tries to seal the deal. Sheila ultimately backs out, leaving Chuck twitching into a deep depression.
Maybe we should just try this, when you're not so busy.
Yeah.
Number 8. Kevin throws up on Linda. Life doesn't get any less awkward for Kevin as he grows older. He simply finds new ways to embarrass himself. At a wedding, Kevin attempts to win a girl's affection, but he spends most of the night trying to fend off unwanted come-ons from the feisty Aunt Muriel.
Is it time for my dance yet?
Following a cringe-worthy dance, Kevin gets his hands on a bottle of champagne.
As it happened, it didn't take much. And with that, I was on my way.
He grows impatient waiting for Linda, though, helping himself to the bubbly.
Sitting there 1 hour later, 3 sheets to the wind, drunk as a skunk, watching my amazing hand.
By the time Linda shows up, the bottle is empty, and Kevin is starting to feel guilty about being unfaithful to Winnie. What's more, Linda has found someone else to party with. Kevin leaves Linda with a parting gift that will not be coming out of her dress anytime soon.
It was time to come clean.
Yes, Kevin?
So I did.
Number 7. Let's eat. This episode introduces Peter Armbruster, a classmate nicknamed Pig.
Let's eat.
He's played by Michael Ray Bauer, who you might recognize as Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts and Monica's prom date on Friends. When the popular kids invite Kevin to work on the yearbook, he's pressured into coming up with a quote for Peter. He spouts out, "Let's eat," which he later substitutes with the even less flattering,
Oink, oink.
The guilt eats away at Kevin as he becomes closer to Peter, while the popular kids throw him under the bus.
Some of the more conscientious members of the yearbook editorial staff told me you were trying to sneak this quote in.
As stomach-churning as the ordeal is, Peter and Kevin end things on good terms. Peter is comfortable in his own skin and doesn't care about status, although the same cannot be said about Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. Call me Pig. Everybody else does.
Number 6, Margaret Farquhar. While Kevin and Peter part on friendly terms, Margaret Farquhar is another story. When Kevin gets paired with the weird girl for square dancing, he can't shake her off.
I'd just been partnered with Margaret Farquhar, the flagship for 7th grade weirdness. Some people march to the beat of a different drummer. Margaret had her own percussion section.
Margaret won't leave Kevin alone, eating with him at lunch and even showing up at his house uninvited.
Did you know you only live 5 streets down and 3 across?
Maybe one thing that made Margaret a social pariah was she didn't know how to take a hint, subtle or otherwise.
Eventually, looking past her bat obsession, thick glasses, and 3 pigtails, Kevin comes to enjoy Margaret's company.
I'd never met anyone like her. Not that I liked her, you understand. Still.
While he doesn't have romantic feelings for her, Kevin still wants to be friends. Secret friends. Margaret can be oblivious, but she knows when she's being insulted. With several others watching, Margaret leaves Kevin with 5 blunt words that still sting.
I thought you were different.
Kevin reveals that Margaret grew up to be a successful professor and mother, but their relationship never receives emotional closure. Number 5, treehouse snooping. When Kevin dreads receiving the talk from his father, he stumbles into an even more uncomfortable experience. Building a treehouse, Kevin and Jack spot neighbor Donna working in her garden. The father and son both find themselves drawn to her, tomatoes, which is awkward for more than a few reasons.
Now, she was just a woman, working in her garden, weeding her tomatoes. She didn't know we were there, and we'd certainly never seen her before. It was all just kind of a coincidence.
Although they avoid discussing the encounter, the elephant in the garden becomes harder to ignore when Norma has Donna over.
Look at the size of those tomatoes, Jack.
Does it get any more cringe-inducing than that? Well, Norma later comes up to the treehouse and gets a good look at the view. The silence is more excruciating than anything else. At least Kevin avoids having the talk with Jack, who merely tells his son that he's too old for treehouses. Number 4, Karen's live-in boyfriend.
Everybody? This is Michael.
The Wonder Years was always authentic in its exploration of generational gaps, especially when it came to conservative Jack and rebellious daughter Karen. Their conflicting worldviews reach a boiling point when the family learns that Karen is living with her boyfriend Michael, played by David Schwimmer.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, another Friends actor.
Pivot! Pivot! Pivot!
Sharing a roof is one thing, but learning that Karen sleeps in the same bed as Michael is more than Jack can handle.
We braced ourselves for the inevitable. My father was going to make mincemeat of this guy, tear him limb from limb.
I'm gonna take a walk.
While Kevin finds that Michael is a loving boyfriend, Jack turns his back on Karen nonetheless.
Daddy.
I'm not staying here.
Rather than wrap everything up in 22 minutes, the showrunners let tension stew for several episodes. Jack and Karen do make amends the following season, but not before sitting through another painful dinner. Number 3, Glee Club catastrophe.
It was cruel. In front of our very eyes, Warren had transformed from a lyric tenor to, well, a bullfrog.
Sometimes you need to lower your expectations. The upbeat Miss Haycock learns this the hard way when she takes over the 8th grade Glee Club. Although the Glee Club sounds about as appealing as fingernails on a chalkboard, Haycock is confident that she can turn them into 5-star singers in time for the Spring Sing concert. Haycock's vibrant smile turns to a look of devastation when the boys tell her that they're not ready. This motivates Warren to break out his concealed singing chops, giving the Glee Club a spark of hope.
It took the tears of a student teacher to bring a song to the lips of Warren Gander.
At the concert, however, Warren's voice changes mid-performance, throwing everyone else off.
What I remember best is that Warren Gander's voice chose exactly that moment to to change.
Paul has a sneeze attack, Doug falls over, and Haycock flees in humiliation, never to be seen again.
But that night, she got her wake-up call. The only problem was, she wasn't there to answer it.
Number 2, Makeout Party.
Come on, guys. This way. To heaven.
Kevin and Winnie's relationship had no shortage of awkward moments. If we had to pinpoint the hardest to sit through, however, it'd have to be their 7 minutes in heaven. Actually, they don't make it to 7 minutes, and the experience is anything but heavenly. Having recently become a couple, Kevin and Winnie are still figuring things out. So, when they're selected to enter the makeout room at a party, all of their insecurities are suddenly put on display.
You comfortable? Yeah. Well, because if you're not, I could get another beanbag. No, it's okay.
Well, this was nice. Kind of like waiting for a bus.
After a few moments of quiet tension, Winnie runs away without an explanation. Kevin and Winnie share a passionate private kiss later that night. Before we can get to the happy resolution, though, we must endure Kevin's embarrassment as the partygoers stare at him alone.
Everyone was watching. I had to say something clever.
I guess my kisses have that effect on her.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. Kevin throws an apple. Not the impression you want to make on the first day of school.
I asked myself, now what would a guy like Brian Cooper do in this situation?
Kevin's crush on Miss White. It never would have worked between them.
She was a woman, and I was a 12-year-old boy.
Caught in the middle of Frank and Denise. As if Kevin doesn't have his own relationship problems to deal with.
Just what are you trying to pull?
I want to know what's going on, Denise. Why won't you talk to me?
There's nothing more to talk about. Maybe I should...
Shut up.
Right.
Double, Kevin's in trouble. 2 exes on a double date. What can go wrong?
We doubled. Me, Miss Sweden, and the guys in the back seat. Not that I was resentful about it or anything.
Alice, Kevin, and Chuck. From bad to worse to somehow even worse.
You mean everything to me.
Oh my God. Chuck! She doesn't mean anything to me, Chuck. Believe me, Chuck. Nothing.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, I'll give you friends. As awkward as Kevin's relationship with Winnie could be, that is nothing compared to his love-hate dynamic with Becky Slater. Still carrying a torch for Winnie, Kevin thinks he can let Becky down gently. When Kevin suggests that they remain friends, the sweet, innocent girl he thought he knew responds with her fist.
Oh yeah! Friends? Oh! I'll give you friends!
Kevin's problems with Becky are just beginning. While they were going steady, Kevin made some rude remarks about his fellow classmates. Becky proceeds to share Kevin's comments, resulting in Winnie roughing him up.
What's the matter? Stomach feeling a little queasy, is it?
Later, Kevin accidentally gives Becky a Valentine. After he tries explaining the mix-up, she goes from punching to almost running him over with her bike. Ironically, Becky finds a new love as a result, but Kevin cannot catch a break.
In a way, it was a perfect end to a perfect Valentine's Day.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.